What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video. In today's video, I've gathered up some of my favorite white themed components with the aim of building an awesome looking and performing system for 1440p and 4K gaming that won't entirely break the bank. Using one of MSI's brand new reverse connect Project Zero motherboards, I'm hoping this build is going to have a completely clean and nearly cable-free aesthetic. And as always, I'll be walking you guys through all the parts I've picked and why, what you should consider if you're going to assemble this build at home, and looking at those all-important gaming benchmarks together a little later. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. The NZXT H9 series is here, a range of performance dual-chamber mid-tower PC cases that are sleek, sturdy, and place an emphasis on airflow. They feature side-mounted angled intake, simple cable management, and support for dual 420mm radiators. A spacious design leaves great hardware clearance, and a panoramic front and side panel showcases your build in all of its glory. Learn more at the first links in the description below. I'm going to start today's build by talking about that brand new motherboard, because I'm a big fan of reverse connect motherboards, featured lots on the channel since they first debuted around 2 years ago now, but I've yet to see very many, if any, X870 reverse connect designs. It's almost like all the motherboard vendors are like, hey, we've made these new motherboards with these reverse connectors, and all the case brands are like, hey, we've made some cases, and then everyone was like, we kind of forgot about this thing now, but they're back, baby! Yeah! I actually think they make a lot of sense though. I think if you're a first-time PC builder and you want to really hone in on the aesthetics, cable management is definitely easier with reverse connect motherboards too, which I really appreciate. The big thing to be careful of, and this is the reason they come in special, differently designed boxes, is obviously they're very fragile, he says, while catching one of the connectors. And unlike normal motherboards, you can't just like lay them flat, because obviously you'll crush the connections on the back. If you're not familiar with what reverse connect motherboards are, it's basically all the normal connectors, but they're reversed, and these are going to poke through cutouts in the case that we've gone for. Mainly the aesthetics look better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the motherboard down flat, but actually upside down, which feels a bit weird, but I promise you that's the safest way to actually handle it. Inside the motherboard, I'm going to be installing this AMD's Ryzen 7 9700X. I haven't always been the biggest fan of this CPU, but I wanted something today with a couple more cores that wasn't going to cost the same amount of money as a 78 or 9800X 3D. 8 cores, 16 threads, and pretty fast clock speeds makes it a good fit for the motherboard in the build. For the memory, I've got 32GB of Corsair's Vengeance RGB DDR5. This is only a 5600 kit, 6000 is going to be better. I'll link that down below. And for the storage, a 2TB P310 from Crucial. You guys will know I'm a big fan of Crucial's P3 Plus. This is basically the newer and much faster version and is going to do really well for the build today. Why not talk about power supply as well while we're here? I've gone for a 750 watt unit from Corsair. This is the RM750E. And the really great thing about this power supply in particular is not only the Cybernetics Platinum for efficiency and A certification for noise, or the fact that it's actually PCI Gen 5.1 and ATX 3.1, all of which is good news, is actually the cables. Look at those. So they're fully white, they're not braided, but they are individually nylon sleeved, which is rather good. And you get little quality of life features like a two-tone GPU power connector, so you can see if it's not quite in all the way. When I talked about this build not being a cheap system necessarily, but also trying to extrapolate value, this power supply with these cables is going to save me like $30 or $40 on extensions, and I actually think you won't be able to tell that much difference. The power supply itself is also perfectly colour matched in white, and even the included power cable, the kettle lead you get with it, is white too. So attention to detail from Corsair, definitely something we're seeing improve, and that makes me happy. Now feels like a good time to talk about the cooler in today's build as well. I've gone for this, the MSI Coreliquid P13 in white. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to have a bit of a cable-free theme in today's build, and this cooler actually really helps with that. Not only do you get this plastic cover to hide any ugly mounting hardware, but the cable that powers the screen actually runs through the tubes and into the radiator. The good thing with that is we can hide the cables more easily and help to stick with this not quite cable-free aesthetic, because the GPU, as I'll get to in a moment, isn't cable-free, but as minimal number of cables as possible. The screen on this is really nice. It's like a 2-inch circular LCD display, which looks lovely. You can extend your desktop, show key system metrics, graphics, get it all synchronized, and it should look rather nice. The fans are ARGB, fairly standard, fairly simple, but they will sync with all the fans in the case, so we can have system-wide effects that just work. And we love it when things just work. Let's do the GPU next. So for the graphics in today's build, I've gone a bit controversial. I've gone for the 5070 Ti. Now, the reason I've done this is because I actually quite like this GPU. The 9070 XT is quicker, and in a recent video, I talked about whether or not the 5070 Ti is now kind of dead. Now, the short answer is not quite. There are definitely still use cases if you prefer NVIDIA's ray tracing and DLSS. Their frame generation's a lot better than what AMD have at the moment. Then NVIDIA is the way to go. On pricing, there is now a bit more to set these apart. Thankfully, in the UK, you can buy these cards for below their MSRP price points, which really helps. In the US, I think it's a fairly similar story, but I'll link latest pricing and availability below. Honestly, I also wanted this build to look pretty gorgeous, and considering how this card looks, I thought on balance it was a good choice. It should also match with the Project Zero motherboard design from MSI, and rather sadly, MSI don't make AMD GPUs. At least they don't seem to right now. Would love to see that change in the future. That, though, is a really nicely designed card. Look at the white on that, it's really stunning. Clear plastic there, nice subtle MSI branding. The dragon in silver should match the board really nicely. Careful, James, be careful. I have to be so careful picking this board up. But yeah, look at that. What do you think, Dan?
I think it's great.
It's great. That is really good, actually, isn't it? That's nice. Silver, yeah. And then, once all of those are discussed, the final component left to talk about is this, the PC case. Now, I've gone for Antec. Antec are a brand who have really been on resurgence recently, and this C5 is a case I've admittedly used in a few builds over the last year, and the reason is I really like it. It's really, really nice. For the money on offer, you get a really great experience. You get this nice soft cell foam in the box, which helps to keep the case really well protected, and crucially support for the reverse connect motherboards that we need in the build today. I was originally thinking about using the Montage King 95 Pro, which I do like and has, I think, yeah, the same number of fans included. This you get 7 in total, same in the King 95 Pro. However, it doesn't support BTF or reverse connect motherboards, and it's more expensive. The other option was the King 65 Pro, but that doesn't support reverse connect motherboards, and it only comes with 3 fans, which is a bit naff. I think this looks better as well than the 65, personally speaking. Believe it or not, this is actually one of the best-selling cases that we have over on GeekaWhat PC, which for those of you that don't know is actually my UK pre-build PC company. So if you want to buy a PC, we build it, send it to you if you're in the UK, just the UK for now. Sorry everybody else, this is actually one of our best sellers. I'll link it down below. Now, first things first, we might as well get the whole thing not quite completely stripped down, but pretty much taken apart in terms of both front and the rear side panel. And unlike in a normal build where you disassemble everything into the motherboard outside of the case, because this is a reverse connect motherboard, the best thing to do, installing the motherboard first, is just going to drop all of the really easy to damage cables below the motherboard. So that's going to actually protect them against damage. It's quite unnerving, this actually, I must admit, these reverse connect motherboards. But once it's lined up, that makes it virtually impossible to damage any of the connections here, which we can see from the side are all lined up just right. So you can see all the cutouts and stuff are in the right locations. I'm then going to use the included screws that come with the case to secure the motherboard down. 3 at the top, 3 along the middle, and you guessed it, 3 down the bottom. The next step then is to install the processor. And we were just saying in the studio here how this is a really weird way of building a PC. We're so used to building everything outside of the box, outside of the case box, sorry. But yeah, so lift that socket cover up, reveal the AM5 socket, drop the processor in. The little golden triangle is of course going to be up here in the top left-hand corner. Return the cover down, then the arm follows closely afterwards. And that's basically all there is to it. After the CPU goes in, I'm next going to follow up with the RAM, which goes in these slots on the right-hand side of the motherboard, and then the SSD, which goes under this tallest slot above the PCI lane. All really, really easy. At MSI, I've got these cool easy DIY features, and I actually think they work pretty well. The next step is to remove the stock mounting brackets to make way for the CPU cooler. And I was about to say, I'm not going to install the CPU cooler yet, because that will make all the cables really hard to get at. But it's a reverse connect motherboard, so we can do the cooler, and it's actually not going to be in the way. And we can also do the GPU and then finish off with the power supply at the end. It's been that long since I filmed a reverse connect, PZ, BTF project style video that I actually kind of forgot about all the many advantages of the reverse connect design, which I actually like. Yeah. This build's getting better, I'm happy. In terms of installing the cooler, this should be pretty easy because it's got that Unifan bracket or that uni bracket, I think it's called. It means you don't have to swap out the mounting hardware around the CPU block when installing on different kinds of CPU sockets. I'm then going to go ahead and screw the actual radiator with its pre-installed fans up to the top of the case. And you can see here, I'm going to go for this kind of orientation. So I'm going to have those cables at the front to deal with, but I think with some careful cable management, I can get those looking fairly neat and fairly tidy. Once the rad's in, I then need to add 4 standoffs. These are going to go in the corners around the CPU. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they come included in the box. A drop of thermal paste onto our 9700X processor, and then the block will drop nice and easily on top. The next stage of the build then is to install the GPU, and it feels like cheating. I know I said this a minute ago. It feels like cheating to just be putting the graphics card in and being like, oh, we'll worry about the cables later. But because they're at the back, it makes no difference. And it looks so good. I really like the clean cable look, actually. Kind of forgot how good it is. The cooler cables we managed to hide pretty well. I'm gonna sort of sort those out to keep a bit more taut. And then these cables here are the only ones really that are visible, but I don't think it's too bad. A bit of cable management later and we can get them looking perfect. Now, 5070 Ti, here we go. Oh, that's gonna look absolutely, as we'd say in the UK, it's gonna look it's gonna look so good. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove the second and third PCI lanes and then slide the card in. Check the PCI slots unlocked. It is now. And then we should be good to go. Lined up, yes. Bit of pressure, wait for the click. Good, and we're gonna lock the PCI lane back down so that we can't pull the card out. That is very, very close to the glass of the case, but we should just about have enough room to put the only real visible power cable in, which is for the GPU. I'm really hoping MSI might bring out a reverse connect compatible to a Project Zero graphics card, or even maybe just do something where they hide the cable, so the cable comes out, I guess, the back somewhere, or just in a way that we can really tie it together. But it's a small complaint, it's something Asus have managed, and I'm sure MSI will follow at some point. Now, this is a good time to start attacking the cable management in the build. And you can see there's a few wires down here, but it looks probably a bit worse than it is. So this hub here is all of the built-in ARGB fans and all of the fan headers. So that's fine. Off this, we're gonna have a few cables. We've got a 3-pin 5-volt ARGB and a fan cable. This is to sync with the motherboard, which I'm not actually too bothered about. The fan cable, though, I will plug in. And I'm gonna pop that into the CPU fan header. The integrated ARGB and fan hub is also powered by this cable, which is a SATA power cable. I'm going to plug that in later, but I wanted to point out that that also needs to be connected. For now, I'm going to carry on with the front panel cables, and there's a few key ones to talk about. You can see here we've got the largest one, which is the USB 3 Type A. That's going to go to the USB 3 header on the bottom corner of the motherboard. We've got the USB Type C header, which also goes to the same side of the board as the Type A, as well as a HD audio cable, which has one pin blocked out and goes down to the bottom right, hidden away against all these other fan and RGB connections. Front panel cables, and then last up, they are fiddly pins in this case, so be careful, and they go to the bottom left-hand side. Then it's a case of installing the power supply. Now, in terms of the cables I need to plug in, I need one for the GPU, that's the 12-volt high power. I then need 2 for the CPU in the form of 2 8-pin connections, and then that SATA power harness I talked about earlier for the RGB hub. Not forgetting, of course, finally, the motherboard power cable, which is the largest of the bunch. I'm then going to go ahead and plug in a few of these cables, starting off with the motherboard connector, so we can see that just slots in on the right-hand side. It's so much easier to install than normal. Then we're going to do the CPU up to the top right-hand corner, then the SATA power connection, and then the graphics card one you do need to thread through, and that's going to go to the GPU, a little something like so. Look at that, nice and simple, and I'm going to pull the excess through to get it looking tidy. Now, the cable management does need a bit of work and a bit of time, so I think it's time for a really satisfying cable management time lapse. Oh yeah. Looking good. I absolutely love how this build looks. I think the cooler matches the case really nicely, and Antec C5 provides us a great value base to work from. Now, I've got to give a quick shout out as well to MSI for kindly sending out the gaming monitor I'll be using to test today's build. And this right here is their 321 URX QD OLED with a 240Hz refresh rate, a 0.03 millisecond response time, and a glorious 4K Quantum Dot OLED panel. It's stunning. And it's got the white frame and the white stand, which of course matches the build today perfectly. Now, in terms of performance, as usual, we tested a wide variety of titles. On your screen now are our 1440p results across around 3 games, and we also tested another 3 or so titles at that higher 4K resolution. Taking a closer look into some of these titles, and why not start off with Battlefield 6, where here at the 4K high preset, this system achieved an average of around 90 FPS. Given how demanding this brand new AAA title is, 90 FPS was pretty good for me, and I thought yielded a nice gaming experience. Move through to Apex Legends at 4K high, and performance here shot up comparatively speaking. We were looking at a total of 261 frames per second on average, not quite the 300 FPS cap, but considering we're gaming at 4K, not a million miles away. In Marvel's Rivals, again at 4K high settings, we did see the lowest frame rate of the day with an average of 80 frames per second. But again, this was on the high preset, and if you start to introduce things like DLSS or even frame generation, if that's something that you're into, you're going to see that frame rate skyrocket further. At 4K rasterization, I thought this was pretty respectable. Dropped down to 1440p, and we tested Call of Duty's Black Ops 6 Zombies at that high settings preset. Frame rates were pretty good. Call of Duty in the region of 200 frames per second, which is kind of crazy and shows the room you could have if you notched up to 4K. And of course, the high refresh rate of this monitor allows us to take advantage of that high frame rate, which is great. Finally, the last game to talk about is Fortnite. This was tested at 1080p competitive settings, the only title today where we didn't bump up the resolution. And here the frame rate sat pretty at around 280 FPS on average. This is a system that really provides great performance and good value for money too. The RTX 5070 Ti, perhaps a controversial GPU in the current climate, but one that's clearly capable of delivering strong gaming performance. What do you guys think of this build? Let me know in the comments down below. You can check out a very similar system to this over on GeekaPC if you want to buy this system pre-built and you're based in the UK. I'll link that down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.